and welcome to this video on how to set up the WAN configuration in the NSE 3000 security gateway / firewall device. So I assume that you already have your device onboarded and managed by CN Maestro, all right, and you have also been able to associate an NSE group, right, with your NSE device. If you haven't been able to do that, we have another video that talks about how to go through the onboarding process for the NSE 3000. So let me just show you all the WAN configuration details for the NSE 3000. So I've come to the NSE groups and pick the group that you have created to manage the NSE, and you can click on WAN. So the NSE 3000 has two WAN ports, right? And you can sort of set up each of them individually. So at this point, you'll see that the WAN 1 has already been set up. So, if you have, when onboarding, whatever basic IP address details that you have programmed in, that will be visible here. In case you want to change something, feel free to do it. We support three modes of IP address assignment. You have static, dynamic, and PPPoE. Right, so in this case, this is the static DHCP IP address assignment. Again, if you want to tag VLANs on your WAN port, this is the place to do that. So you can say enable 802.1q VLAN tagging of frames, and you can specify, let's say, the VLAN ID. All right, so that is an option for you to tag VLAN on the WAN port. If your ISP has given you additional IP addresses, it so happens that you get one primary address, right? This could be true even when you have a PPPoE connection. And then you get another block of IP addresses that you can use. This is the place to do that, right? So in which case I can, for example, do, let's say 192.168. Of course, this is in the private range. You will have it in the public IP range. All right, let's say 133 dot something /29, all right, or /28. This is important because once you specify the additional IP addresses, you will be able to specify source NAT rules. We'll just visit that in a moment. By default, source NAT is enabled, and we expect you to keep that. All right, unless you use NSE 3000 purely as a routing device. If you have specified additional IP addresses, you can look at setting up source NAT rules. All right, so we give you a lot of flexibility here. So you can specify rule number 1, and you can sort of create LAN pools. Right, this is a bunch of subnets that need to go to the specific WAN IP address. If that's your requirement, you can do that. All right, in this case, I'm telling, hey, all the IP addresses should either take, now based on what you specified, right, you can say that, you can use any of the additional IP addresses, right? Let's say I can tell that, for example, all my WAN traffic should use this particular IP, right? Or I can say that, you know what? Let's say I have a particular LAN subnet, which is 192.168.200.0/24. I need all clients on this subnet to use this particular WAN IP address. So that's possible as well, right? There is also another option if you go to navigate to the group section, where you will be able to logically create objects of IP addresses and then use that as to target here, right? In which case you'll be able to select those particular things, all right? And this is a single IP address option. Let's say if you have multiple IP addresses, you can also use this option as well, right? So I can tell that, hey, all my clients on this particular LAN subnet can use a round robin pool from 17 to 19, right? So this is an option as well. So you can add multiple rules like these, and with different precedents, and you can set up your source NAT policy, right? This is only true if you have specified additional IP addresses. Otherwise, it doesn't let you, add as NAT rules. Then we come to the connection health. Excuse me. Come to the connection health aspect of it. So here what you see is by default, we will ping 8888 and we'll monitor, the connectivity to 8888 using pings, right? And why is this important? Because if we were to lose the pings to these monitor hosts, then we'll detect that the WAN link is down. And in such cases, if you have another WAN link, based on your policy, traffic will get diverted to the secondary WAN link, all right, or the other active, it could be another active WAN link as well, right? Our recommendation is to at least have two hosts here. For example, in this case, I've set up 4 different hosts to ping. All right, let's look at what are all the parameters. So we're saying, hey, this is the IP address, this is the monitor host. And once you've set up 3 or 4 of them, you can change the number of host failures, right? So for example, if you have 2 hosts here to monitor, you can specify this 2. So what this means is that only when both those links, we are unable to reach both those links, is when we assume that the particular WAN link is down, right? Otherwise, we don't detect that as a failure, right? You can leave these things as standard. This is failure detect time, right? And so the interval says, how frequently do we send out these pings? And this timeout says, when do we assume that the ping is, not reachable, not reaching the destination? That's 2 seconds. So you can leave these as the standard values. So that's the connection health thing. And whenever a link goes down, you'll also get a notification. All right, you'll be able to see that in the CNMaestro dashboard. If you navigate to notification and events, you'll see an event there that says that the WAN link is down. Now we'll move to the dynamic DNS section, right? So this allows you to assign a domain name, right, to your WAN IP address. Can come in very handy if you're using any of our VPN services, right? So that it's not dependent on the IP, especially if it is a DHCP IP address, right? So we support a number of providers, a lot of standard names that you see here, right? So you can pick up the DNS provider, program the host name like we have in this case. And some of them require you to put in a server name, a username, password as well. So depending on who your provider is, choose from this list and populate this, and you should be able to reach the NSE 3000 from the WAN side using the domain name, right? Link capacity, this depends on what your ISP is giving you, right? If you're not sure, just leave it here, right? If you have, some of them have an uplink of 100 Mbps, a downlink of maybe 900 Mbps. If you are sure about it, you can tweak this. Otherwise, it's best to leave this as is. All right. Now, if you want some traffic shaping, this is the place to do it. All right. So you can add a new traffic shaping policy. You need to enable it first. I'm sorry. Let me just go back. Enable traffic shaping. You can add a new traffic shaping rule. I can just say specify one. Let's say streaming. All right. I want to limit all streaming bandwidth. I'm not really sure about upload for this. So let's just put it as 10 Mbps, but download is where, let's say, let me limit all streaming bandwidth to 30 Mbps. All right, I'm not worried. You could also, if you need be, set a DSCP value. All right, once you've identified for what kind of traffic you need to do that. And this is where it gets interesting. So you can target the traffic shaping rule based on either IP addresses. So I could just say IP based, and I can specify my source subnet masks, all right? Or I could just make it application based, right? So this works via deep packet inspection. So I can choose a particular category. I can say streaming media, right? And I can hit add. So I'm sort of limiting all my streaming media traffic to about 10 Mbps of uplink and 30 Mbps of downlink, right? You can go ahead and create your own policies. So that was the traffic shaping part. We provide something called as failover policies. So which tells that, what happens if this WAN link were to go down, right? And you will be able to specify, hey, if, for example, right, if I have 2 WAN links, and if my WAN 1 fails, right, for some reason, right, then my internet link via ISP 1 fails, and now this is the only WAN that's remaining. So this could be a case where you have one, big pipe as your primary WAN link and another secondary, ISP connection, just in case for business critical traffic. In which case, what you're effectively telling here is, hey, this WAN is the only WAN that's available, right? And it's caused due to a failover. You had two WANs, one is down and you're the only one available now. Do you want to drop certain traffic, right? So for example, I can say that do this and say drop social media. All right, especially if you're running on a single WAN link, it's not all that big, your primary has failed, you definitely don't want social media then. So you can cut out and say this thing and say social media, social networking. All right, and do you want to apply it to all your users or is there any specific set of users whom you don't want to target this to? That depends on your use case, but we can hit add. So when does this get triggered, right? So as I was saying again, let's say you have WAN 1 and WAN 2 and your WAN 2 was sort of the primary ISP. It failed and WAN 1 is the only link available. That is when this gets triggered, right? Otherwise, social media is allowed. But if you have ended up in this scenario and you want to drop certain traffic when you're on your secondary WAN link, you can use that to do so. So that is the failover policy. We move on to the WAN speed test part of it. So periodically we run speed tests that sort of run every hour and you get a report of the speed test results on the NSE dashboard. You can keep it on, but if you're on a low speed internet connection or if your bandwidth is sort of precious, then you can turn this off. I'll also show another place where you can trigger this on demand as well. I'll now move to the load balancing section of it. So let's say that you have two WAN links and let's say both of them are equal. So one easy way to just balance all user client traffic is put them as shared, right? And split them equally, right? 50, right? So 50% each, right? And I can, it sort of randomly pushes flows between both the WANs and it sort of balances it to 50% on each particular WAN. All right. Or if you have one primary ISP link that is a big pipe, so you will want the majority of it to go there, you can split it in the 80-20 ratio as well. All right. So this is one possible configuration. Or you may want it such that you always want all your traffic to go through your primary link all the time, but use the secondary link as a backup. You can do that as well. Right? So in which case it says that WAN 2 will only take over and start passing traffic when the WAN 1 is down. All right. The last part of the WAN configuration is flow preferences. With load balancing, it is just share percentage. But what if you want to make sure that certain types of traffic go over specific WAN links? Right. So for example, you may want all your streaming media to go through WAN 2. All right. So again, you can put this thing, say streaming to WAN 2 policy. All right. I'll choose application based again. I'll choose category again, and I'll choose streaming media. All right. And I'll say WAN 2. All right. So this means that all streaming media traffic now goes over WAN 2. All right. Now let's say that you have a guest subnet and you want to make sure that all guest traffic goes over WAN 1. So you can do that. Let's say guest WAN policy. You can keep it IP based. So your guest WAN subnet is 192.168.33.0 and set to 55, 255, 255, 0. Any port destination is any. I don't care. This is any. And you can set. All right, you're saying all guest traffic now has to go through WAN 1. All right, so you can create your own rules based on your use cases. All right, certain applications you may want to avoid in your primary WAN link, you can do that. Certain applications you may want to avoid in your secondary WAN link, you could do that as well. So this sort of sums up, all the WAN configuration options that are available on the NSE. Thank you.